everyone, welcome to another Commander Deck Tech. It's been a while since I put up one of these. I try to make them every month or so, but I've been going on with modern deck techs recently. So I've been wanting to build a pirate deck for a while, and especially in the past few years, Magic has gotten a lot of support for pirates. And yeah, I just figured, this would be a good time to build a pirate deck in Commander using Admiral Beckett Brass as the commander, of course, because I really can't imagine many other pirates befitting the commander spot other than Admiral Beckett Brass. Calling this deck Beckett's Scallywags because I want to be on theme. This deck is really just to have a lot of fun, a lot of cool sub-themes I have in this deck. You got the attackers, you got the plunderers, and you got the thieves. I'll be getting to those in a second, but let's take a look at the commander first. So Admiral Beckett Brass, it's one color is blue, black, and red. For a legendary creature human pirate, other pirates you control get +1/+1, so already pretty good. I really like seeing that. And at the beginning of your end step, gain control of target non-land permanent controlled by a player who has dealt combat damage by 3 or more pirates this turn. That's pretty good. So already with the +1/+1 goes into the attacking theme, or going just tapping to the right and hitting your opponent's face. So really liking the ability to pump your pirates. +1/+1 is really great, and there's other ways to pump your pirates in this deck, of course. And the thieving part. So as long as you deal damage with 3 or more pirates, you get to steal a non-land permanent. Well, that seems awesome and pretty chaotic in a commander setting. So if you have a bunch of friends playing, you can start taking whatever permanent you want, essentially, that's non-land. And that's just friggin' cool. It's 4 mana, not that expensive, so pretty easy to cast several times throughout the game. Yeah, this is just an awesome pirate to have as your commander, and I think Beckett Brass fits in really well with the rest of the theme of this deck. So let's get on to what I call the attackers. There's probably a better word for it, a more piratey word for it. I'm sure you can tell me in the comment section down below. The ambushers, maybe? There's another word that's on the tip of my tongue, but it's not coming to me. But basically the attackers, or at least the creatures that you're seeing on the screen here, are really centered around attacking. These are the creatures that you want to play. They may pump up your other pirates that you have on the battlefield, but realistically you just want to be swinging in with these. So let's go through them really quickly here. So Changeling Outcast, technically a pirate, because it's a shapeshifter. It's a 1/1, and it can't be blocked, and it can't block. I mean, the main reason why I'm playing this is because it can't be blocked, and there are a lot of effects throughout this deck that cause something beneficial to happen to you when you deal combat damage to a player. So the ability to be unblockable essentially is a big bonus here. Yes, it's a 1/1, but there are many ways to make this much stronger in the deck. Outside of your main commander. So yeah, Changeling Outcast is actually pretty great. Again, trying to be on theme here, and Outcast, pirate, whatever, it kind of fits in if you stretch your imagination a bit. Captain Vargas Wrath, legendary. Whenever Captain Vargas Wrath attacks, pirates you control get +1/+1 until the end of turn for each time you've cast a commander from the command zone this game. Alright, so early on, not going to be the best thing in the world, but once you do cast your commander at least once, that's a +1/+1, and then multiple times gets to cast, gets to pump up your creatures more and more. Again, a very attack-focused creature. Dire Fleet Captain, whenever Dire Fleet Captain attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each other attacking pirate. So this creature starts, becoming pretty big, even if it becomes a 4/4, 5/5, 6/6, whatever it is. If you have a pretty big board presence, this becomes like a must-block creature, which is always nice. Your opponent's going to have to figure out what they're going to be blocking. So this can get pretty big, and there are some ways to make Dire Fleet Captain unblockable in this deck. So, that all of a sudden becomes a huge problem for your opponents. Dire Fleet Poisoner, Flash, which is, important here. Death Touch. Whenever Dire Fleet Poisoner enters the battlefield, target attacking pirate you control gets +1/+1 and gains Death Touch until end of turn. So this in and of itself could come in last minute to block a creature that your opponents, your friends thought they wouldn't be losing, and now they will because it has Death Touch. Or it could come in and give another creature +1/+1 and Death Touch instead. Whatever it is, this gives you a bit of control, bit of flexibility. I really like that, so it's a pretty cool utility creature. It's only for 2 CMC, so that's pretty darn cheap. So next you got Fathom Fleet Captain, 2/1. Whenever Fathom Fleet Captain attacks, if you control another non-token pirate, which you almost certainly will, you may pay 2. If you do, create a 2/2 black pirate creature token with Menace. Alright, so you could start creating a little army of pirates, which is always nice. Menace here, very important, makes it slightly harder to block, which means there are better chances of it, you know, making contact with your opponent, which again, many effects in this deck that, you know, trigger when you do deal damage to a player. So that's going to be pretty important, which is why I included in this deck. Karizev, Skyship Raider, there's no way you can't play this creature. First strike and menace, alright, so already that's great. It's a 1/3. Whenever Karizev, Skyship Raider attacks, well, you know how this goes. Create a legendary 2/1 red monkey creature token named Ragavan that's tapped and attacking. Exile that token until at the end of combat. Alright, so every turn, as long as your Karizev is surviving, Ragavan comes in, makes a little appearance, and leaves. Of course, the Ragavan is also in this deck. We'll see it later on. So that's pretty darn cool. That's always nice to have. It's very themey. I like it. If you notice in the artwork, which is pretty damn cool, you can see all the treasure in the background. And if you look at the Ragavan art, in the normal Ragavan, not the extended art, it's almost as if it's in the same setting. It was pretty cool. Anyway, just a side note here. Next, we have Warkite Marauder. It's 1 blue, 1 colorless, flying. Whenever a Warkite Marauder attacks, target creature defending player controls loses all abilities and has base power and toughness 0/1 until end of turn. So, whenever it attacks, you get to power down any problematic creature that you don't want to be blocking you, which is very powerful. It's great. It's a human pirate, so it also gets pumped up if necessary, and it's flying, which means it's going up in the air. If there's no one else, no other flyers on the battlefield, you're going to be making contact with your opponents. It's exactly what you want to do. Coastline Marauders, Trample, 0/3. Whenever Coastline Marauders attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each land defending player controls, which is ridiculous. Okay, I'm going to read that again. Whenever Coastline Marauders attacks, it gets +1/+1 to end of turn for each land that defending player controls. Well, this is Commander. That's going to become absurd. It has Trample. Even if it doesn't survive, it's probably dealing some insane amount of damage. And don't forget, there are other ways to pump this up and, increase the chances of it surviving. It also has Encore, which just makes this better. So Coastline Marauders, pretty damn sweet. Stormfleet Sprinter, Haste, can't be blocked for 3 CMC, which is not that bad. It's a 2/2. So again, here, making contact, it can get pumped up really easily. You're dealing a lot of damage to your friends, and they're not liking it. And it's Haste, which is great. Comes down, and it has an effect on the board immediately, which is what you want. Direfleet Neckbreaker, which, by the way, sounds horrible. It just sounds very painful. Attacking pirates you control get +2/+0. Talking about that pump. Alright, it means it's all attacking pirates, so not just this Direfleet Neckbreaker. So that's pretty cool. I mean, when it attacks, it's a 5/2. Everything else gets +2/+0. That's exactly what you want to be doing and having a lot of fun with it. Port Razor, getting a bit more expensive here. 3 colorless, 2 red. Whenever Port Razor deals combat damage to a player, untap each creature you control. After this combat phase, there is an additional combat phase. Port Razor can't attack a player it has already attacked this turn. That doesn't mean it can't attack. It just can't attack the same player. So if you're playing multiplayer Commander, this just becomes out of hand. For me, this must be a must-answer creature, because if this is turn 5 minimum, or whatever, assuming there's no ramp, you already have a lot of pirates on the battlefield, and all of a sudden you're getting multiple attack phases, well, at least the second one, and you have some pirates that are unblockable as well, so they're going to be dealing this Port Razor should just be called Hellraiser, because it's essentially what it's doing. Again, a very fun card to play in this deck. Angras Marauders, even more expensive. If a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. So very simple here. It's a 4/4 human pirate. It's 7 mana, so yes, it is a bit pricey, but just look at all the effects you have on this screen right here, and then imagine this ability going on the stack. It's just ending the game. Just look at Coastline Marauders. I know we're living in Fantasyland here, but just imagine if it gets to attack in and deal double damage and just end a player's night, essentially. So Angras Marauders, again, another no-brainer. Oops, voice cracked again. Let's start the voice crack counter. Alright, next, I'm still putting this under the attackers, although there's no technically there's no creatures here. Cover of Darkness, which is very piratey. Cover of Darkness comes into play. Choose a creature type. Of course, I hope you choose pirates. Creatures of the chosen type have fear. So this is one of the many abilities that make your pirates unblockable, essentially, or nearly unblockable. So they can be blocked by artifacts, artifact creatures, or black creatures, so that's a thing. But assuming that they aren't on the battlefield, they just attack in. That's, you know, just start dealing damage, start getting those triggers on the stack. The Cover of Darkness is brutal if you get it on the battlefield and there's no answers for it, especially in this type of deck. So this is definitely a must-have. Fell Flagship, I just like it for the flavor, by the way. I mean, it's a pirate ship. It's awesome. But pirates you control also get +1/+0. So another pump effect. It's another, you know, vehicle, creature, whatever, that, you know, wants you to attack in and be very aggressive. Whenever a flagship deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card. Crew 3, not very hard to do. So again, you make it unblockable. Your friends are going to start discarding cards, which is exactly the type of annoying thing you want to do. Icon of Ancestry. Again, you choose a creature type. It'll always be pirate. Please make sure it is always pirate. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. That's great. It's a nice instant pump. For 3 mana, you could tap it, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card of the chosen type from among them and put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Alright, so I mean, they're all pirates, so you're always going to be able to pick a pirate, assuming you see one. Very great. A very great card. A very great card. Yeah. Nice one, Delver. It's a very nice, grammatically sound, structured sentence. Anyway, you know, assuming that you want to find more threats, this is a great way to do it. Even if the top 3 are not creature cards, you can just put them in the bottom, and hopefully you're going to get to a creature soon. And plus, it's just a +1/+1 to all your pirates, which is awesome. Vanquisher's Banner, very powerful, and we know why. Again, you choose pirate. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. Whenever you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, draw a card. All right, well, I'm just gonna be, you know, break the news to you here. All your creature spells are pirates, so you're gonna be drawing a lot of cards off of Vanquisher's Banner. Obelisk of Erd, Convoke, so you're gonna be able to get this down sooner than turn 6, hopefully. As Obelisk of Erd enters the battlefield, choose creature type, of course, pirate. Creatures you control the chosen type get +2/+2. All right, so this is again a lot of pump being presented on this page, and there's a reason for that. You want to be very, very aggressive. Buccaneer's Bravado, choose one. Target creature gets +1/+1 against first strike at the end of turn. Or, the one that you're obviously going to be getting most often, target pirate gets +1/+1 and gains double strike until end of turn. So, yeah, you remember that creature that has power equal to the amount of lands targeted player has? Yeah, now it has double strike. So, and trample, by the way. So this is just an awesome little combat trick that could just take out a friend, take out an opponent immediately. So yeah, you got to have it. So let's get on to the Thieves, the more thievy creatures or the more thievy spells you have in this deck. So you know, the idea here is that you're stealing something more than anything else. So let's start with Direfleet Daredevil. First strike, whenever Direfleet Daredevil enters the battlefield, exile target instant or sorcery card from an opponent's graveyard. You may cast that card this turn, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast that spell. If that card would be put into a graveyard this turn, exile it instead. So you're stealing an instant or sorcery from someone's graveyard and potentially casting it. That's always nice. Kitesail Freebooter, flying. When Kitesail Freebooter enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-creature, non-land card from it. Exile the card until Kitesail Freebooter leaves the battlefield. So as long as it stays on the battlefield, that card is gone. Again, you're stealing, but well, maybe borrowing in this case. Breach's Brazen Plunder, Menace. Whenever one or more pirates you control deal damage to your opponents, exile the top card of each of those opponents' libraries. You may play those cards this turn, you may spend mana. So you get the idea here. This could actually have been partnered technically. Maybe I should have. Maybe you could if you really want to. But then you would have to find another partner commander, so it won't really work here. But that's besides the point. It doesn't need to be a partner. It doesn't need to be a commander. Again, one or more pirates. You start stealing cards off the top of your opponent's libraries. Exactly what you want to be doing as a thief. This is why it's in the thief category. Crafty Cut Purse. That was almost weird to pronounce. Flash. When Crafty Cut Purse enters the battlefield, each token that would be created under an opponent's control this turn is created under your control instead. So you keep this in your hand. Especially if you're playing against, a friend or opponent that deals with tokens a lot, this can be a huge hit. On a turn where your opponent, your friends or your opponent decides to make a big play and get a lot of tokens, boom, you steal them. That's exactly what you want to do. You want to steal them all. And that art is just awesome. Hostage Taker. When a Hostage Taker enters the battlefield, exile target artifact or creature until Hostage Taker leaves the battlefield. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled. And blah, blah, blah. Spend mana as you want in any color. So again, another effect here. You're stealing a card and you can cast it as well. Corrosive Recruiter. Whenever Corrosive Recruiter or another pirate enters the battlefield under your control, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. Until end of turn, it gains haste and becomes a pirate in addition to its other types. This is just brutal. First of all, if it survives, it just keeps triggering. And it becomes a pirate while you're stealing it. So anything that affects pirates, boom, that creature gets it. This is just a brutal card to have, a perfect thief. Zyra Renegade Recruiter, flying. Whenever Zyra Renegade Recruiter attacks, look at the defending player's hand. You may put a creature card from it onto the battlefield under your control, tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker that they control. Return that creature to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. Alright, now you're stealing creatures out of your opponent's hands. Perfect. Perfect thief. And I included Bribery in this deck because, I don't know, it just gives me a very piratey feeling. Search target opponent's library for a creature card. Put that card into play on your control. Then that player shuffles his or her library. Alright, well, you're obviously going to go for the best creature. It doesn't really matter what it is at this point. It's a card that you're going to be playing with. It's a creature. This is just an awesome card. This is not banned? This is not banned in Commander? That's crazy. Alright, well, there you go. Bribery. Definitely a Thieves type card. Alright, then there's the Plunder. So these are the cards where you're drawing cards, or more importantly, creating treasure tokens. So treasure tokens are great, obviously, if you want extra mana of any color. That's always nice. It's always nice to have a lot of mana at your disposal, especially in this deck. Having a lot of mana at your disposal really helps you have blowout plays. But there's also, an alternate win con here with Revel in the Riches. So whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, create a colorless treasure artifact token. Alright, that's fine, that's fair. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasures, you win the game. As you're about to see, there are a lot of ways to create treasure tokens in this deck. So this is a card you could kind of keep in your hand if you really want to. Start creating those treasure tokens, and then when the time is right, you cast it, and boom. Next upkeep, you win, assuming no one takes care of your enchantment. It's a nice card to have. Worst case, you just generate some treasure tokens before it gets removed. Doesn't really matter. But it is an alternate win condition, which I really like having. There's Ragavan, Nimble Pilfer. I put in the Plunder because, well, you're doing exactly what Plunder would be doing. You're getting treasure token out of it, which is great, and you're getting an opponent's, which is kind of thieving at the same time, but you're also stealing it. It's whatever. It goes with the theme, guys. You just live with it. That's what I chose. So Ragavan obviously really great here. Has dash. It is Commander. It obviously is a bit more tame in the Commander format. But if no one's blocking it, or if you make it unblockable in the many ways that you can, well then your opponents are going to have started having issues with it. Dockside Extortionist. When Dockside Extortionist enters the battlefield, create X treasure tokens, where X is numbered artifacts and enchantments your opponents control. So definitely really good against artifact decks or decks that just have a lot of artifacts. But this is Commander, so there's always going to be some number of artifacts on the battlefield. And it's your opponent's control, by the way, not target opponent. So all of them. So even if they all have 2 or 3, that's a lot of treasure tokens right there. Getting out to that win condition, and even if you don't have the alternate win condition, it's just a lot of extra mana. So this is huge in this deck. Dockside Extortionist is just an awesome card. Captain Lannery Storm, haste. Whenever Captain Lannery Storm attacks, create a colorless treasure artifact token. Boom. Whenever you sacrifice a treasure, Captain Lannery Storm gets +1/+1 until end of turn. All right, so maybe you have a bunch of treasure tokens, and you attack in, and your opponents are like, well, I gotta block you. If you don't, you can start sacrificing a bunch of them and start start pumping up your creature, which is always great. But worst case, you're just creating a bunch of treasure tokens every time it attacks. Exactly what you want to do. Corsair Captain. When Corsair Captain enters the battlefield, boom, create a treasure token. Oh, and why not? Other pirates you control get +1/+1. Yeah, there you go. Just nice little pump there at the same time. Malcolm, Keen-Eyed Navigator. So, flying, great. Whenever one or more pirates you control deals damage to your opponent, you create a treasure token. Alright, so, boom. Again, creating treasure tokens every time one or more pirates you control deals damage to your opponent. So, again, creating treasure tokens every turn. This is great. Exactly what you want to do. Treasure Map. So let's start here. For 1, tap, scry 1, cool. Put a landmark counter on treasure map. Then, if there are 3 or more landmark counters on it, remove those counters. Transform treasure map and create 3 colorless treasure tokens. So you're creating 3 colorless treasure tokens right there. Awesome. And of course, when you flip it, add 1 color to your mana pool, or sacrifice a treasure, draw a card. So you have a sack outlet for your treasure tokens. If you don't need them, or if you have some extra that you don't, again, you don't really need, boom, sack it, draw a card. Perfect. Treasure map is really, really, really works well with this plunder theme in this deck. Spell Swindle. So this is a counter spell. Counter target spell. Create X colorless treasure artifact tokens, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. Alright, so save this for the big ones. For 5, 6, 7, who knows? It's Commander. Who knows how big those spells get? You might get your win condition right away. But yeah, this works really well with Revels and Riches. You do it right before your turn. You get your extra treasure tokens. Boom, you win the game. So this is must include for this deck. Treasure Chest. We recently got this, or are getting this, in the D&D set. So there are many ways you could get 5 treasure tokens. Yes, count 5 treasure tokens. Beautiful in a deck like this. Even if you don't have the alt win condition, it's just 5 treasure tokens you could use for whatever you want. Yeah, there's some other caveats. You could also gain 3 life and draw 3 cards. I'm not complaining there either. And then, searching your library for a card. If it's an artifact card, you may put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put that card into your hand. So you're tutoring basically any card you want, which is great. You could go tutor Revel and Riches if you really need to. I mean, worst case, you lose 3 life, whatever. You'll survive. Costly Plunder. As an initial cost to cast a spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. You can always sacrifice a treasure token, obviously. Draw 2 cards. Boom. That's why I like it. Just draw 2 cards. Why not? Also, the art is on theme. I very much like that art. Prismari Command. The main reason why it's here. Look at that line. Target player creates a treasure token. But the other effects here are worthwhile. Deals 2 damage to any target. Target player draws 2 cards and discards 2 cards. You can do that as well. If you have a bunch of cards you don't need, maybe you overdraw on lands, this is a great way. Or you could destroy target artifact, which is always welcome. Removing artifacts in Commander, very important. And you're choosing 2 of these, so it'll always be, create a treasure token plus something else. Unexpected Windfall. Again, something we got recently in the D&D set. As an additional cost to cast a spell, discard a card, not a big deal. Draw 2 cards and create 2 treasure tokens. Man, that is a lot of treasure. So again, this is the Plunder. You're creating a lot of treasure tokens, either for Revel and Riches or just for anything else. You're a sack outlet for Treasure Cove or whatever. Doesn't really matter. You really want treasure in this deck. You want as much mana as possible, and these are all great ways to do it. We're almost done with the Plunder. Kindred Discovery. As Kindred Discovery enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. Man, every time you cast a pirate creature or attack, whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. That's a lot of card draw. That's exactly what you want, right? It's part of the Plunder. Coastal Piracy, just on theme in almost in every way. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. We've already covered this, folks. There are many ways to deal damage to your opponent by, evading the blockers. It's just beautiful. Siren's Ruse. Exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. If a pirate was exiled this way, draw a card. It'll always be a pirate, and if you choose wisely, that pirate will have a nice enter the battlefield effect, so you get an extra ETB trigger. Beautiful. I put this under the Plunder because you're drawing a card. Why not? Alright, the rest of the crew. These are the, I wouldn't say they're the, misfits, but they are. They didn't fit anywhere else. Protein Raider. If you attack with a creature this turn, you may have Protein Raider enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. So very easy to get that trigger, and you could copy the best creature on the battlefield at any given time. Perfect. Forerunner of the Coalition. When a Forerunner of the Coalition enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a pirate card, reveal it, then shuffle your library and put that card on top. Whenever another pirate enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life. So, yes, you're creating a lot of pirates. Your opponents are losing a lot of life. That's always nice. And you're going and tutoring one of the best pirates that you need, or a pirate that you need at any given time. This is really great. Almost like Imperial Recruiter, almost. Similar type effect. But it's going into the top of your library, whatever. It's a great tutor to have, and as a pirate. Dreamcaller Siren, Flash, Flying. Dreamcaller Siren can block only creatures with flying, whatever. When Dreamcrawler Siren enters the battlefield, if you control another pirate, which you almost always will, tap up to 2 target non-land permanents. This is always nice. You know, stop, cut off resources, before you do anything more important. Dire Fleet Ravager, Menace and Death Touch. So if you do manage to block it, well, it's got Death Touch, and it's a 4/4, that's no joking matter, I should say. When Dire Fleet Ravager enters the battlefield, each player loses a third of his or her life, rounded up. That includes you, but hey, you're the aggressive deck here, so this is probably going to benefit you more than anything else. Merchant Raiders. Whenever Merchant Raiders or another pirate enters the battlefield under your control, tap up to 1 target creature. That creature doesn't untap during its untap set for as long as you control Merchant Raiders. Boom. Start taking out, blockers, essentially, and it start dealing more damage with your pirates. Perfect. Exactly on theme. Alright, the answers. These are just, removal, counter spells. It's basically what are here. So you got Cyclonic Rift, obviously, counterspell, Terminate. I'm not going to explain these cards, you know them. Bedevil, Fiery Cannonade, Vandal Blast, and Lookout's Dispersal. Just, works exactly the way I want it to. And, of course, it's 1 less for every pirate you control, so this could be a 1 mana counter, or a 1 mana, slightly better mana leak. The Ramp, this is more like mana fixing, but I put it under the Ramp, I should say. That's crack number 2, by the way. Voice crack number 2, I should say. Obelisk of Grixis, we know what that is. Arcane Signet is a Signet. Chromatic Lantern, we all know what these are. Herald's Horn, obviously you're going to choose Pirate. Creature spells you cast with chosen type cost 1 less to cast. This is really important. Getting cheaper pirates is exactly what you want to do. It makes you even more aggressive. Definitely helps out your curve. So really an important artifact to have. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature card of the chosen type, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. Another beautiful effect. I love it. Commander Sphere, we know what that is, and Soul Ring, because pretty much an auto include. This is just the rest, whatever. This didn't fit anywhere else. Haunting Voyage, very piratey, by the way. Choose a creature type, pirate. Return up to 2 creature cards of the type from your graveyard to the battlefield. If the spell was foretold, return all creatures of the card type from your graveyard to the battlefield instead. Please foretell it if you can, okay? This is just brutal. It could be almost the end of the game. People think they got you. All those pirates are dead. Nah, they're back. This is just a brutal card to have. If it doesn't get countered, oh man, this is just hilarious more than anything else. So it's a must have. Crack number 3. March of the Drowned. Choose 1, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Return 2 target pirate cards from your graveyard to your hand. Obviously, pirates. Make sure they are pirates. I love that artwork. Reflections of Lajara. As Reflections of Lajara enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, pirate. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, copy that spell. Brutal. This card is brutal. I'm sure it's brutal in general, but this is just brutal. Can't believe it's legal. In this deck, as long as that pirate is not legendary, I don't think I got to tell you how many pirates in this deck would just be brutal to copy. So, yeah. And Angrath Minotaur Pirate, because why not have a Planeswalker Pirate? The effects are pretty cool here. Pirate deals 1 damage to target opponent, and each creature that player controls, which is great for, go wide decks that have little tiny creatures. Return target pirate card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Brutal. That's awesome. Bring your best pirate back to the battlefield immediately. Destroy all creatures target opponent controls. Angrath Minotaur Pirate deals damage to that player equal to their total power. I mean, if you do get to -11 this, which I doubt, but if you do, that's just... Message me in the comment section down below if you ever do or if you ever did, just so I know, because I think that's awesome. Alright, the lands. I'm not going to go through all the lands, except for the 2 here that I'm going to point out. Treasure Vault. Again, another D&D card. Sacrifice Treasure Vault, create X treasure tokens. Again, for a lot of treasure tokens, really, really good here. But also for your alternate win condition, Treasure Vault is great. And Rogue's Passage on the other side of the screen. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. Also very important. Again, if you want to get a creature to get in, deal damage, and have a triggered ability, Rogue's Passage is really great. Everything else here is pretty standard. And of course, blah, blah, blah. You could always remove the more expensive fetches and all that for something cheaper. The deck will still work without them. So I'm not too concerned there. Same for those shocks there, Steam Vents, Blood Crypt. You could replace those with cheaper options if you really want to. And you got some basics here as well. 2 swamps, 4 islands, 2 mountains. Got some pathways. Again, nothing too crazy. That's it for Beckett's Scallywags. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think about this commander deck. I mean, it's really fun to play. totally my type of deck that I would want to play against my friends because it's annoying. It has annoying features. This is what I like about my decks. They can be very annoying. So yeah, let me know in the comment section what you think. What cards did I omit? Remember, I tried to stay on theme here, so I'm sure there were some cards that would just be better in many ways, but I just wanted to have that very piratey theme, so I kept it to very piratey type cards. Alright, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Enjoy my content in general, please subscribe, hit notification bell. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, share my content on social media. Watch it start to finish like you're doing right now. Holy hell, 30 minutes? That's great. Thank you very much for that. It really does go a long way. So thank you. If you want to go a step further and support me on Patreon, check out the Patreon link in the description of this video. Check out the Patreon Rewards program. There's a video on my Patreon that explains it all. In a nutshell, my Patreon is not there to make me money. No joke. I'm not kidding. It's not a lie or a scam. It's there to support all the product openings I have on this channel. All the valuable rares and mythics are sent back to you. All my patrons, you get one valuable rare or mythic for every month that you're a patron. You get at the end of the year. Average is $3 to $15 for each rare or mythic. So if you do the math, you're probably breaking even and then making more. It's not a joke. It's really what it is. I do giveaways. I do the Patreon Rewards program. This is what I do on this channel. Thanks, and have a good one.